Greetings, travelers, and welcome back to the Tales from the Enchanted Forest podcast with your hosts, Fox and Sparrow.
Greetings, travelers. It is so good to see you, and by the time this releases, I think this will be New Year's Eve day, so this will be the last day of 2025, which is crazy to think about.
Yes, I feel like this year went by too fast and too slow. Both.
Yeah, it's always so weird with how fast time flies, and we're start to get into the mid-late 20s era, which is crazy to think about. I'm not ready for that.
2026. You know what? I'm happy to see 2025 go. I think I spent this year just sick, and let's hope 2026 is better.
Yeah.
But I mean, people all over the internet like to say that it was because it was the year of the snake and everyone was shedding all their bad habits and growing. And I was like, okay, I'm done growing. I would like to not be a snake anymore.
I feel like it's often I come to this time of the year, I'm like, oh, I'm so glad that's over and stuff. And I don't like always feeling that way. So I'm trying to be more positive. And I do think there's been a number of good things that happened this year. So honestly, I know the world as a whole, a lot of crazy stuff happened. But for me, I think a lot of good stuff happened, and I'm quite happy with 2025. But I am ready for 2026.
I think it's just one of those years where it's slogged on and it's outstayed its welcome. I refuse to be positive.
You refuse to be positive. Next year, we'll try and be more positive.
Well, the problem is, obviously, we are recording this in advance. So I think I will be in a better mood come, Christmas and the new year. But at the moment, just thinking about 2026 and the transition is just, it's too much.
Yes, we do these in advance. It would be a lot of work to do this a one-day turnaround, though we have done it before, which is, they're always fun. But we're getting lost in the weeds here. As the final episode releasing in 2025, I wanted to go out on a cozy note. So I wanted to talk about one of my favorite childhood movies, which was The Swan Princess. Now, as a kid, I was 100% convinced this is a 100% original fairy tale. Obviously I was like, well, of course it pulled from stuff. And I could put together oh yeah, Swan Lake, Swan Princess, probably similar, probably pulled stuff. But I was like, no, it's still a totally different story and not in any way. And for some reason, I carried that with me until about a month ago when I started doing research for this episode. But yes, so The Swan Princess is a 1994 animated film, which was directed by Richard Rich, who directed such classics as The Black Cauldron and Fox and the Hound. Done a bunch of other stuff, but honestly, the Swan Princess series is his main thing. He released The Swan Princess back in 1994, and later on made a lot of direct-to-video sequels of the series, which I think I've watched one, but I've blocked it out. I do plan in 2026 to actually watch the rest of these because I'm just so fascinated that my childhood standalone movie has a lot more lore to it.
See, I'm very I don't only watch this. I think when I was already an adult. So I this was never something I watched when I was young, and I think it's because we watched a lot of Disney and we had a lot of VCRs and stuff, but I don't think The Swan Princess was ever one that we had. But obviously I had seen Barbie and Swan Lake. And so that was, when I watched that, I was like, wow, Barbie came up with such an original, I had the same exact thing as you, where I was like, wow, what an original, right? Look at all this music. I can't believe they made all of this for the Swan Lake movie. And I think I had the same thing where I was embarrassingly old when I realized that it was based on a ballet by Tchaikovsky, and I was like, oh, so this wasn't Barbie.
Yeah.
I can't believe that Russian man stole Barbie in Swan Lake's movie.
Right? It's crazy. But I mean, hey, he did good stuff because we got these really fun adaptations. Yeah, so I had the exact opposite thing later on in my life. I remember seeing the Swan Lake a Barbie movie, and I was like, oh, what a fun twist on my favorite childhood movie. Like that's cute, but like I prefer the original. Thank you very much. And coincidentally, Rich was like originally writing this for Disney, and then he decided to break away to make this like as his own production. So that like Odette was super close to becoming a Disney princess, actually, which is the weird thing to think about because she's not
not the typical at the time actually Disney princess, because there was Belle around the same time, wasn't there, and Little Mermaid.
But regardless, like Disney, especially at this time, was doing really good. It was at its height. In fact, this movie released on October 17th, 1994, and that was the same day that Disney was doing a re-release of The Lion King. So it really didn't stand a chance at the box office, and in fact was a complete box office flop. The film cost $21 million to make, and it only made $9 million at the box office. So really not a success there, but got life after it with like VHS and going on video, and that's where it found life later with the direct-to-video sequels and stuff.
Okay, we have to talk about these sequels for a second because I just looked them up. So I watched the original yesterday, just to give myself a refresher before we did anything, and then I kept seeing like little trailers for the sequels, and I was like, oh, I should watch some of these. But the titles of some of these are wild. Have you seen the titles? So there's The Swan Princess. Yeah. The Swan Princess Escape from Castle Mountain. The Swan Princess 3, The Mystery of the Enchanted Treasure. The Swan Princess Christmas. The Swan Princess A Royal Family Tale. The Swan Princess Princess Tomorrow, Pirate Today.
Yep.
The Swan Princess Royally Undercover, which sounds like a Disney original series. The Swan Princess A Royal Mystery, and mystery is spelled Myztery. The Swan Princess Kingdom of Music. The Swan Princess A Royal Wedding. The Swan Princess A Fairy Tale is Born. And the latest one, which was in 2023, The Swan Princess Far Longer Than Forever. I haven't seen any of these ones, but the synopsises are very interesting. They adopt a girl at one point, and they battle to defeat the evil forbidden arts multiple times. Then there's also the adventures of their daughter, the adopted daughter, and then there's also like a spy one.
See, this is what I'm talking about. Like I kind of knew somewhere, like I had heard stuff like, oh, there was sequels. But I'm fascinated by this series and the fact that it's had this weird longevity. So I do want to see them. They sound, honestly, kind of terrible, but I am so excited in that way, you know?
The thing is, they sound a little bit terrible, but at the same time, it's like, ooh.
Yeah, right?
I mean, I kind of want to know what happened with Derek's father being a pirate, you know? I kind of would like to know that backstory. I would like to know about this music contest they hold for their adopted daughter.
All I have to say, really love The Swan Princess, and it's an interesting kind of story with the way it was released and stuff. We also don't get a chance to talk about like movie stats. Like I can tell you exactly when the world first heard this story, and it was October 17th, 1994. We don't really get that with a lot of our folklore, so I thought it was fun to dive into that a bit. But of course, this story is, despite my childhood ideas, this was not wholly original. It takes a lot from Swan Lake, as you kind of noted earlier. This is a ballet by Tchaikovsky. It premiered in 1877, and this story that he kind of put together is based on Russian and German folklore. There's probably a lot of tropes that he's pulling from there and more stories, but the main story we're covering today is the Swan Princess movie. So we were just kind of like looking to the ballet, is like that was the main inspiration for this story, and we'll talk at the end kind of some of the differences between the ballet's version and the movie version.
And I think some of the original stories of Swan Lake or the Swan Princess were more about the wild swans or the 6 wild swans. And that I think came from Andersen, but also from Swedish folklore and Scandinavian folklore. I think there's also some Chinese folklore that has people turning into birds. And ironically, in those ones, it's the brothers. So it's the princess who has to save her brothers who have turned into swans. So I like that at some point it changed and then she became the swan instead.
So with that, as our final swan song of the year, let us tell the tale of the Swan Princess. Once upon a time, there was a fair and wise king named William. Unfortunately, King William was starting to get up there in years, but he still had no children of his own. But eventually, by some miracle, he had a child of his own whom he named Odette. Now, in the movie, the mother is never mentioned. Like, she gets no screen time, not mentioned, nothing. And so, like, I had always assumed she just died during childbirth. Like, that's what I had assumed. But as we alluded to earlier, the Swan Princess canon has gotten bigger since I was a kid. So digging through that, apparently in a later movie, they actually corroborate this theory and they confirm that, yeah, the mother did die during childbirth. If you want the exciting details of what happened to the mother and everything, there is another movie that explains that. But it's an interesting thing how they just really don't mention her at all. They're like, he wanted his daughter, and now he's got a daughter. Don't think too hard about it. Now, King William was also good friends with Queen Uberta, who ruled a nearby kingdom and had a young son named Derek. They both get to talking, and as friends who our parents often do, they have this wonderful idea of arranging a marriage between their children. So, to help the two become closer, they agree to bring their children together every summer. And so, every summer, Derek and Odette visit one another. It's quickly very clear that neither is thrilled with this arrangement. We move into a musical montage that sees the two grow older and how they dread summer when they have to see each other. As children, they are literally fighting with wooden swords. As they get a bit older, Derek runs and hides in a treehouse that says "No girls allowed." And when they become teens, Odette starts talking with other guards instead of talking with him. So we kind of see them trying to get away from each other or in constant conflict with one another. But finally, when they are all grown up, they are brought together once more. They see each other across the room and they instantly fall in love. Everyone in the kingdom becomes very excited as Prince Derek immediately announces the marriage. Odette, however, is a bit confused by this quick action. While they both definitely had the magical moment where they both knew they loved each other, she wanted to hear from him why he loved her. So with their parents and servants in the room, Odette asks Derek why he loves her. Derek, a bit flustered at the question, just says that she is beautiful and all he ever wanted. She says thanks, but then asks, what else? And our poor dummy of a prince says, what else is there? The iconic line of this movie.
I remember this like it was yesterday.
Oh.
It's definitely not something you want someone to say to you.
Like, right? Oh my goodness. And later, Lord Rogers will comment on this to Derek by saying, you should write a book, How to Insult Women in 5 Syllables or Less.
Yeah.
Which is, moi. Perfect. Chef's kiss, no notes. Thankfully, the room is on Odette's side here because everyone immediately cringes at this response. Even the parents know that there is no real recovery from this moment and call off the arrangement. That evening, King William and Princess Odette leave by carriage to return home. That night, Derek admits he messed up and is adamant that he really loves Odette for who she is. A little while later, an injured knight appears saying that Odette's carriage was attacked. Without thinking, Derek immediately chases after them in the pouring rain. When he arrives on the scene, he finds all the guards dead and King William on the verge of death. With his last breath, King William tells Derek that a great animal attacked their carriage and that it took Odette. But also, the animal is not what it seems. Enraged, Derek vows to hunt this great animal down and save Odette. After this, Derek spends all his time honing his archery skills and researching the library to find clues about this great animal. Eventually, he finds a book that offers some clues as to its location, but also indicates that the creature could be a shapeshifter. With this information, he prepared to take off into the woods and hunt it down. This upset his mother, Queen Uberta, who had been arranging a grand ball the following night. See, Queen Uberta, along with everyone else in the kingdom, was convinced that Princess Odette was very dead and not coming back. So she had arranged this ball and invited many princesses from all over in hopes that Derek would fall in love with another royal. Derek, of course, was very much still in love with Odette and only begrudgingly agreed to be back in time for the ball. With that taken care of, Derek set out to the dark woods to find Odette and the great animal. Now knowing that the creature is a shapeshifter, he looked out for innocent-looking animals, believing they could be shapeshifters. So when a beautiful white swan flies by in the spooky woods, he believes he has found the great animal in disguise. He chases after the swan while firing arrows to bring it down. But the swan keeps evading him. Eventually, the swan leaves the forest and lands on a clear lake which reflects the crescent moon in the night sky. Just as Derek is about to fire his arrow, he sees the swan transform into Odette. Immediately, Derek drops his bow and runs to her. She explains that the great animal is actually an evil sorcerer named Rothbart, who had previously tried to conquer her father's kingdom. After the attack on the carriage, he took her to the lake and cast a curse on her that turned her into a swan. Now, she can only become human when she is on the lake and the moonlight touches her feathers. And when the sun comes up, she reverts back into a swan. The only way to break this curse is with a vow of everlasting love, and that it must be proven to the whole world. Derek invites Odette to come to the ball the following night and promises he will declare his love for her there in front of everyone. She agrees to come, but before they can talk much more, Rothbart returns and Odette sends Derek away before he is spotted. Even though Derek left as quickly as he could, Rothbart had already overheard their entire conversation. See, Rothbart planned to convince Odette to marry him so that he could legally gain control of her kingdom. This would give him much more legitimate authority compared to forcing the people into obedience with his magic. But obviously Odette refused to marry him, so this plan was not going to happen the way he planned. And seeing the couple making plans to be reunited, he knew he needed to intervene. He locked Odette in a tower to make sure she couldn't leave and also pointed out that even if she did escape, there would be no moon the following night, so she couldn't transform anyways. Then he created a doppelganger of Odette to go to the ball in her stead. It's at this point in the movie, too, we get the awesome music from Rothbart that's No More Mr. Nice Guy, which lives in my head rent-free. And so, the night of the ball arrives, and princesses from all over the world have come in hopes of catching Prince Derek's eye. Of course, Derek barely notices them, and he is only waiting for Odette. Soon enough, a woman appears who looks and sounds like Odette. Derek is overwhelmed with excitement and runs to her. Without missing a beat, he calls for the attention of all his guests and makes his vow of love to, quote-unquote, Odette. Once he finishes, the woman immediately transforms, revealing not Odette, but a servant of Rothbart. During this time, the real Odette escapes her tower prison thanks to the aid of her animal friends. Now, I haven't really talked about her animal friends much because they don't move the main plot along, but they're a fun treat in the movie. They're very silly and support Odette, and the film would simply not be the same without them.
I think you always need animal companions. And I feel like they fit the role quite nicely because they're opposites to each other, but they still are fun.
Yes. And I think I learned from this too. It's fun. It's more fun to have multiple animal companions that can talk to each other. Because when you just have the one, it feels like they're acting as the conscience for the princess or whatever. But then these guys are just bickering, and it's so much fun.
Yeah, and I think unfortunately, a lot of the time, the animal companion is just annoying.
Right? But I don't know. I found these guys still endearing, even after all these years.
No, I think these guys are endearing. I think The Barbie ones are the ones that are a little bit like they're the guidelines for how not to.
Yeah. Barbie Swan Lake, I think, is still pretty fun, but like the big difference is the animal companions. That's the big differentiator.
Listen, I still have so much beef with Bibbles or whatever it's called from the Fairytopia ones. Ugh. So cursed.
Oh, it's fun. It's fun to look back on childhood and be like, how are we not scarred by this terrifying monstrosity?
I feel like I am. I don't know about you.
Anyways, back to Odette. She flies all the way to the castle just in time to see Derek make his vow of everlasting love to the wrong girl. Dun, dun, dun. Dun. This somehow has a backfire effect on Odette, and the curse begins to kill her. So, feeling much weaker, she begins to fly back to the lake. But back at the ball, Rothbard appears and reveals his evil plan to Derek. Horrified by what he had done, he rushes to Swan Lake to try and save Odette. When he arrives, he sees her transformed back into her human self as she lies on the ground dying. He holds her in his arms and tells her that he loves her, but she still dies. Unfortunately, he didn't get there in time and kind of already messed it up with that vow before. Way to go, Derek. Rothbard also arrives in the scene and taunts the heartbroken prince for his failures. Enraged, Derek demands that the Dark Sorcerer brings Odette back, and for some reason, Rothbard agrees, but only if the prince can beat him in a fight. With that, Rothbard transforms into the great animal, which we've been hearing about all movie, and it's like a giant wolf-bat hybrid-looking creature. As a kid, I thought this was pretty scary. Looking at it now, I'm like, it's just a giant bat with a bit of a wolf head. But anyways, I digress. They engage in an intense fight, but it's pretty one-sided, and without a weapon, Derek can't really hurt the beast. Thankfully, Odette's animal friends see this all go down, and they remember that Derek dropped his bow at the lake earlier. They work together to get his weapon to him, and Derek fires a piercing arrow at the great animal, killing him instantly. With the magic broken, Odette returns to life, and Derek tells Odette how much he loves her for her courage and kindness. Our star-crossed lovers kiss and marry soon after, and they all lived happily ever after. Yeah. So that is The Swan Princess. If you have not seen it, I highly recommend watching it. There's a couple of bangers songs in there. This Is My Idea is one of my favorite like musical songs, I think. It's just so much fun.
I quite like the montage of them growing up together. I think them being childhood friends / childhood enemies, but like characteristically childhood enemies, like having a treehouse and saying no girls allowed. And her, flirting with the guards and him being like, that's gross. I think I like that aspect of it because so often it's love at first sight. And I do like that he's given every chance to, win her over, woo her, fall in love with her. He has all these years and he still messes it up at the last minute. It's such a guy thing to do. But I think I like that the best.
Yeah, I think that montage does a lot. But even as a kid, it did bug me. I was like, he doesn't really have a lot to say about her in terms of why he loves her. He just really skirts around it till the very end of the movie. And then even then he had 2 things to say. So
no, I think it is really cute.
Yeah. That is The Swan Princess. So Swan Lake, it still focuses on Odette, but one of the big differences, and I don't know why they made this change, is that Derek in the ballet is actually Siegfried. Not sure why they changed the name, but, tomato, tomato. Derek is just a reskinned Siegfried in the ballet. Some other differences, Odette's and Rothbart's backstory is a lot more fleshed out here, even though it's a couple papers thin now, as opposed to, like, none in the ballet. If I understand, they just kind of encounter each other, and Rothbart sets this curse upon them. Other differences is that in the ballet, there's several swan maidens, so Odette is not the only one, but the way to break the curse is still that, like, someone who has never loved before must pronounce their love and like have like true love for Odette and declare it. And it's still broken in the ballet, but in like the original ending of the ballet is that, like in the movie, he gives the vow to the wrong girl and she dies. Like they both die in both versions, but Derek's answer is to fight Rothbart and like and kind of keep fighting, and we get a happy ending. The original play is that Siegfried kind of just, from what I remember, just kind of kills himself to join her, and that love doesn't break it for Odette. Like she's still dead, but at least frees the other swan maidens so they can be human. But then in one version, they're still sort of rewarded by going to heaven together, the two, but they're both dead. So it's interesting, like, that in my mind, this is such a happy ending story, but like a lot of the original is so sad because it's still like a tragedy, and most retellings are like that. There's some knife twisting at the end. They usually don't end up together, at least not in a traditional happy way like we see in this movie. Mm-hmm. So that's one of the biggest differences between these two. Oh, and also Odette and Siegfried don't meet until after she is cursed. So we get the addition here in the movie of them like knowing each other ahead of time, which is really fun, but that's not in the original ballet. So there you go. Those are some of the differences between the play and the movie. And while this is not like a traditional folklore, it does have all the elements of a fairy tale and folklore, and it's pulling from a lot of like traditional ideas and tropes. So it felt like fun to include here. And I was just wanting to have a good time talking about this movie. It's a cozy movie.
I agree. And I think it's nice that we are ending off with a movie as opposed to like a full-on folklore thing, just because I think a lot of people are rewatching movies during the holidays that they like, or the movies they remembered. So it's nice that we get to share something that we liked and be like, this is what we're watching.
Mm-hmm. And it's nice to come back and rewatch some of these old stories and see what inspires us too. Like I love going back to the ones from my childhood, like what helped shaped and mold me and my interests in terms of like what I now find interesting, right? And I think these stories like really engaged like that fantastical part of my brain. Like I love fantasy, I love a fairy tale like this, and I love like a happily ever after. And with that, dear travelers, we hope that you have a happily ever after for your 2025 and that you have a good rest of the year and a great start to the new year.
So, dear travelers, and with that, we will see you in 2026. However, if you miss us before then, you can always find our show notes and blog posts on everything Enchanted on our website, talesfromenchantforest.com, or on most social media sites as From Enchanted or at Tales from Enchanted Forest, including on Bluesky and Instagram. However, if you're old school like Sparrow, then you can send us an email at talesfromenchantedforest@gmail.com. We'd love to hear anything folklore related, so be sure to drop us a comment.
And remember, there's always a place for you in the Enchanted Forest.